To begin with, I'd like to welcome all of you. Full transparency here. This is my first webinar. After 40 years, I figured it's time to start putting this up on the internet. So this is my first webinar for prospective patients. So if you can bear with me, I think it'll be a very special and empowering class, but as of right now, I think we got the technical issues taken care of. So to begin with, my name is Dr. Siegfried, and I've been practicing for over 40 years. A very special, natural, non-surgical procedure that has helped thousands of people finally find relief from chronic sinusitis, headaches, and sleep apnea. I was fortunate enough to learn this technique directly from its developer, Dr. Stober, after it personally changed my life. And that happened quite a long time ago. And today I'm going to share my story with you. But before we go any further, I need to ask you something, and you're here because you're looking for an answer. So I'm going to give you my absolute A-level best game here, and in return, I need your A-level best. So I see that I need you to be present and shut down all your distractions and all your tracking devices and come at this with an implementation mindset. And that means that you're not just here to learn something, you're here to see how this may apply directly to your life. So let's go to the true cause of sinusitis. And the true cause of sinusitis is this. I'm going to reveal the mechanical cause of your chronic sinusitis. I'm going to show you how the one single bone, the sphenoid bone, is the key to unlocking your breathing. And I'm going to share the story of Pastor David and others who called this procedure the greatest thing that has ever happened to him. I'm going to show you the three things. And that is I'm going to reveal the mechanical cause of your chronic sinusitis. It's not what you think. Second, I'm going to show you one single bone in the middle of your head, the sphenoid bone, which is the key to unlocking your breathing for good. And third, I'm going to share the story of Pastor David, who after 3 failed surgeries called this procedure the greatest thing that has ever happened to him. But first, we have to ask the question, why hasn't anything worked for either for you or the other millions of sufferers with chronic sinusitis? Well, let's talk about the 30 to 60 million people who suffer just like you may. That's a lot of people. And if you're here, you've probably tried everything. You've tried the neti pots, the sprays, the allergy medications, shots, acupuncture, powerful drugs, maybe even surgery, like my patient, Pastor David. 1, 2, maybe even 3 painful, costly surgeries, only to have the problem come right back. You're left tired, frustrated, and still struggling to breathe. But I'm here to tell you there's another way. And that is, the other thing is, it's not your fault. The reason none of these things worked is that they were focused on the symptoms, the inflammation, the tissue, the drainage. They never addressed the root mechanical cause of the problems. And that's what Dr. Stober used to say. That's who I studied with. Dr. Stober used to say they're missing the target. So there is another way, and there is hope for patients that suffer like this. Now, many people ask me, well, Dr. Siegfried, if this is so effective, why haven't I heard of it before? And that's a very fair question. I'm outside the medical model, and the answer is very simple. My treatment is a highly specialized, non-surgical, non-medical procedure. It's not taught in traditional medical schools, which is far more focused on drugs and surgery. You've heard of adjusting the bones of your back or neck probably, right? Well, think of this as a similar principle, but for the 22 movable bones in your head. And I should say this before we go any further. I have to make a quick disclaimer. I'm a doctor, and the results of this specialized treatment may vary, as every patient's structure is unique. This presentation is for informational purposes only and has not been reviewed by the famous FDA. So what's the real cause and the real solution of this chronic sinusitis problem? Well, again, in my opinion, I'm going to tell you. In this section, I'm going to deliver on the promise I made to you in the beginning. I'm going to show you exactly why I believe you've been suffering, and it has almost nothing to do with your sinuses. And then I'm going to show you the one thing that may finally fix it. My promise is that once you understand the true cause of your problem, the solution I'm going to present to you will seem very simple, very logical, and actually a natural choice. So again, why has everything failed? First, we have to understand why you're still stuck. If you're here, you're part of the 30 to 60 million people who have tried everything. And again, all of these things, the reason they failed is it's very simple. They were all treating the symptoms, not the cause. They assumed your problem was a tissue, an allergy, an infection problem, environmental problem. And I'm here to show you, for the most of you, that is, it is not. It is a mechanical problem. So we're focusing on the mechanical aspect of this. So just for a moment, I want you to imagine something. If you've got this problem, imagine waking up clear-headed, fully rested, breathing easily through your nose. Imagine not having to use a CPAP machine, no drooling, no infection from the CPAP machine, not having to drain the CPAP machine. Imagine not having to plan your life around your next headache or sinus infection. Imagine essentially a new life. That's the goal. And that's not a fantasy. It's what happens when we correct the underlying mechanical cause. Like a recent patient, Isidro, 58 years old. He's been suffering with chronic sinusitis since he was a kid. He had a surgery. He went to Ecuador to have a surgery. He's had all kinds of shots and medications, and they finally just put him on a CPAP machine. And now after quite a few visits right now, he's no more CPAP machine, and he's thrilled. So I know these results are possible because I was one of these people. For years, I suffered from debilitating sinus and chronic headaches. I was at my wit's end, just like many of you. And that's when I met Dr. Stober, the developer of this procedure. He performed this adjustment on me, and it changed my life. It actually changed my son's life up there in the corner too. I was so profoundly moved by the result that I decided to dedicate my life to this work. I studied directly under him, 10 years and over 1,000 hours. And I'm proud to say I'm now the world's leading expert in this procedure, having practiced it for over 40 years. Actually, I'm close to 50 years. So what is this mechanism I'm talking about? It's not your sinuses, it's your skull. Your head is not one solid bone like a bowling ball. It's made up of 22 movable bones designed to move. So here's my skull, my real skull on the left. And then that's who I call Charlie. That's the white stuff. And then on the right is my plastic skull, which is the man-made skull. The most important bone is the one in the middle of the head. It's called the sphenoid bone. And it's right there on the picture to the right, inside there, you can see right inside there, that's the sphenoid bone. It looks like a bow tie or a butterfly. And the sphenoid bone is the master bone. It's the base of the skull. It controls what we call the primary respiratory mechanism, or the brain pump. It's what circulates the cerebrospinal fluid, keeping your head clear. And when this bone gets jammed or misaligned, that pump gets impaired. The pressure builds, the sinus drainage may stop, you get stuck, and the solution is not to cut out the tissue. The solution is unjam the pump. And when we get it moving again, the results are profound. I told you about Pastor David, the greatest thing that has ever happened to him. And then also up there is Damien. He came in last summer after on his way to being a firefighter. And he was scheduled for surgery, but he came in, took treatments, and left and never did have surgery. And I just saw him again recently after all the firefighting, and he's doing great. And then there's Shiloh, but we'll get to that in a minute. So the other thing is I'm going to show you some testimonials here. There's a handful of them, and the reason I'm going to show them to you is because they're similar, but they're similar in that they've all had the treatment, but they're different in their symptomatic picture, a lot of them. So Katana was 25 years old. She had seasonal allergies, chronic sinusitis, motion sickness since age 12, all kinds of medications prior. Since receiving my treatment, no more drugs, breathing better than ever. Oh yes, and her anxiety is much less than it was before. She suffered terrible anxiety. And the motion sickness is so much less, she's actually trying to drive again. Then it was Walter, 78, allergies and shots since the 70s, snoring and had to wear a jaw appliance, and tinnitus. Well, no more snoring, no more jaw appliance, and the tinnitus is almost gone. In fact, he says he doesn't even think about it that much anymore. Shiloh was 42 with migraines that are gone after many, many years of many failed treatments. Monica was similar in that she had excruciating headaches. She doesn't have many more. Now, Jake is a little different. Jake is an 18-year-old soccer goalie with migraines that would literally put him down. Missed school, missed everything, had to go in a dark room. Medication didn't work. They're gone, which is another reason the sooner people deal with concussions, for example, in this case, the better chance to avoid the sinusitis problems that occur later in life, which is a constant pattern that I see. Concussions, and then later on sinusitis. Alan suffered with sleep apnea after concussions. His sleep apnea is gone. Then there was Sally, and this is another one that is, to me, it's fascinating. She's 58. She had terrible headaches and sinusitis after a car crash and going through the windshield because the seatbelt didn't lock up. She had her face rebuilt with 32 placed in screws. No more drugs for the violent headaches and the jaw pain and the discomfort, and she gets treatment now when she feels the need to. The 2-hour round trip to the clinic is well worth it for her. Randy's 32 years old. Sinus and memory issues, brain fog, snoring, and a myriad of other symptoms after a head-on car accident that he doesn't even remember. He had his head rebuilt with 62 plates and screws. And, just to be clear, I've read the reports, so I know that this actually happened to this guy and Sally. So Randy had a series of treatments that changed his life and made the 6-hour journey from the Seattle area here well worth it. He gets treated now as needed, maybe a couple times a year. It changed his life, fully functional, a very happy parent of 2 very healthy children. Then there was Ron. Ron is 59, and he had headaches and sinusitis after a bad concussion, suffered from a head-on collision. He didn't remember either. He got creamed and woke up in the hospital, just like Randy did. But no more headaches, no more sinusitis. Then there's another example of this one. An NFL offensive lineman who played for 13 years in the NFL. He came to me when he was 42 years old, and he had chronic headaches, sinusitis, many concussions, and a lot of behavior problems. The treatment got rid of the concussion and the sinus problems and the behavior problems. He told me flat out that if he'd known about me while playing for 13 years in the NFL, he'd have flown me into wherever he was weekly for treatment after a game. Now, these are just some examples of real patients I've treated, but there's more on my website at nasalspecific.com. And I want to mention one other thing relative to the NFL players. Actually, I call it the headbanging society, but it's all football players. It applies to football players, soccer players, basketball, anybody that's been bumped and thumped, as Dr. Stover used to call it. Watch the movie called Concussions, and it pertains particularly to the NFL headbangers. They have nothing to offer these guys, absolutely nothing. And it's a documentary actually on the problems that these NFL players have that suffer with concussions. And so it's a sad story, but that's the way it is. Now, let's go to the strategy. And how do we fix this for you? It's a strategy I perfected over 40 years, which is very simple. It's a 3-step path I call the Siegfried Protocol. It's your 3-step path to breathing freely. But I can't fix the problem until I have a proper diagnosis. This is where you and I have a one-on-one, 1-hour consultation. You tell me your story, we review your forms, and I will use my expertise to determine if you're a candidate for this procedure, the adjustment of the sphenoid bone. I've done bilateral nasal specific techniques since 1976, thousands of times, just as it was developed, taught, and practiced by Dr. Stover to stabilize the sphenoid bone. My protocol is 7 visits once a week to get the sphenoid bone moving, the other bones of the head moving, the pump working better. This promotes stabilization of the 22 bones in your head. So when that happens, they're in their new, correct, and functional position. This will ensure the best opportunity for a lasting result. But there's one exception to the protocol of 7 weekly visits. And that is if someone comes to me from out of state or out of country, the schedule will be different. They may get treated daily or every other day. It depends on their situation, but that is to be determined once I see them and evaluate them. Otherwise, it's once a week for 7 weeks. We reevaluate the situation, and I give you my recommendations for further care, or I just release you to come back whenever you want. So I'm hoping that this makes sense to you. Because I know it's a lot of information, especially if you haven't had anything, if you don't know anything about this, you've never heard it before, or haven't been to my website, but it's important to see the why behind the what. I'm hoping that you can see how this is completely different from everything else you've just tried. I'm hoping that you can see how adjusting this bone, the sphenoid bone, is the key to helping you breathe better. Now, if this new approach, this mechanical solution makes logical sense to you, I'd like you to give me a yes in the chat box or give me a thumbs up. So thanks a lot for that. But again, if you don't want to give me a thumbs up, that's okay. I'm just glad you're here in the show. So what's your choice? What's your choice? Looks like somebody just showed up. So, okay, good. So what's your choice here? Let's recap. You've seen what this bilateral nasal specific technique is and how my treatment has helped people breathe better, just like those you've seen. You've heard how this procedure has transformed the lives of patients suffering from chronic sinusitis, headaches, sleep apnea, snoring, and you've seen proof that it works without drugs or surgery. Now, if you could finally stop struggling with sinusitis, headaches, and sleep apnea, I wonder if that would be worth taking the next step to see if this could work for you. Can you start to feel a sense of what's possible when you finally breathe clearly again? I'm hoping you can see why this is so effective. This could be so effective for so many. Hope you can see how this has been so effective for many of my patients. And can you see how this is completely different from anything you've ever done before? So what are your options for dealing with your chronic breathing issues? Now, for those of you that ever heard of Yogi Berra, he used to say, when you come to the fork in the road, take it. That's a joke. But basically, you have two choices here. Number one, you can keep trying meds, devices, or other approaches, even surgery, hoping for relief. Or number two, you can take the natural non-surgical approach that addresses the underlying mechanical cause of your suffering, just like my patients did. And if you're ready to take the next logical step to find out if this can work for you, then I'd like to make a very special offer to you. I'm inviting you to schedule a 1-hour personal consultation with me. This is not with an assistant or a nurse. This is with me, Dr. Siegfried, personally. No triaging, no sitting around waiting for the doctor to come in or the nurse to come in. This is with you and me, one-on-one. We go over your history. I answer your questions. I'll determine if you're a candidate for this procedure. And in my clinic, a private one-on-one, 1-hour new patient consultation and diagnosis like this is normally $397. But because you joined me today, gave me your time, and made that commitment to find a real solution, you're not going to pay $397. In fact, I want to make this so simple and such an obvious yes for you that I'm going to add in a bundle of bonuses. That's for just trusting me today and listening in. So bonus number one, you'll get priority scheduling. My new patient schedule is often booked out for weeks, but if you signed up for this webinar, Esmerelle or Claudia will move you to the front of the line. You just have to call the number that we'll give you in a minute. Bonus number two, I'm going to include my personalized breathing and home improvement plan. Based on what we discovered together in our 1-hour consultation, I will create a specific customized plan for you with changes you can make immediately to start getting relief. This is the plan I normally charge $200 for. So, bonus number three, you get a personally signed copy of my 32-page book. This is a work in progress, and it details the entire procedure, the science behind it, and more case studies so you can be fully educated on the process. It's a $30 value, and it's yours to keep free. What about bonus number four? Finally, I think this is the most valuable one. I'm going to give you a voucher for 20% off your first treatment. Now, if and only if we decide you're a perfect candidate and you want to move forward, this voucher saves you hundreds of dollars right from the start, and it's a value of $150. So let's add all this up. You're going to get this $397 1-hour consultation. You're going to get the $200 personalized breathing plan. You're going to get the $30 signed book, and you're going to get the $150 treatment voucher. That's a total of $777, but you're not going to pay $777. You're not even going to have to pay $397 for the consultation alone. When you book today, you get everything for only $97. Now, I want to be very clear here. This is not one of those fake scarcity pitches. I'm a practicing doctor, and I can only personally conduct so many of these consultations because they take so long. So I can only offer this for the first 7 people who sign up, and you must book this within the next 24 hours to use this live stream class offer. You just have to call the number that we're going to give you in a moment. So now you might be thinking, what about insurance? It's a famous question. This is an out-of-pocket procedure. Unfortunately, insurance does not cover it, but let me tell you something. Let me tell you something about this insurance program. One patient of mine recently actually had to spend $2,000 out of pocket for his 2 failed surgeries that were supposedly covered by insurance. So he was back to square one, but I was able to help him avoid another surgery. Another patient just recently came in. He was scheduled for surgery, and when he found out what it was going to cost, they said it's going to cost at least $10,000. So Yeah, I have to ask you, what is it worth for you to finally get a real diagnosis and find out if this is the answer you've been praying for? For just $97, you get the answer. And all of this comes with my no pressure doctor's guarantee. This $97 consultation is simply to see if this procedure is right for you. Now, I think even Homer would be very happy with this. If you come in, we talk, and either you or I decide, if either you or I decide it's not a perfect fit, that's perfectly fine. There's zero pressure and zero obligation to move forward. You will still keep the breathing plan, and the book is my gift for your time. I'll evaluate your consultation and let you know if you're a candidate, and you will be able to make an informed, empowered decision on what to do. Once again, if you're not a candidate, I'll refer you to a doctor I would go to myself or send a family member or a friend to. The risk is 100% on me. So here's what you do next. Call the clinic at 503-472-6550, and Claudia or Esmeralda will schedule a convenient time for you. Remember this, if you've been living with chronic sinusitis and other symptoms for years, feeling desperate, or at the end of your rope, a 1-hour consultation could change that for good. And I'd like to tell you something. When I said feeling desperate, frustrated, feeling desperate at the end of your rope, I get that all the time. So I'm not making that up. That's what patients tell me all the time. So you've seen and heard the proof, and hopefully you've felt the hope. If you would like to make a lasting change, now's the time to take action, because we're only taking the first 7 people at this price. And you call the number at 503-472-6550. We're open Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 9 to 12, 3 to 6 Pacific Standard Time. I'd like to, again, thank you for your time. I'm hoping that this class has been helpful for you. I look forward to helping you too. So again, 503-472-6550. Schedule with Claudia and Esmeralda. We're open, like I said, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 9 to 12, 3 to 6 Pacific Daylight Time. Depending on when you call, if you don't get one of the girls on the phone, please leave a message and we'll call you back as soon as possible. In fact, just tell us some convenient times for you. Thanks again. And now, let's see, what I'd like to do is open this up for any questions. I'm happy to answer them if we can plug into the if we can plug into the chat box properly. So you can just ask any questions in the chat box. The number is 503-472-6550. By the way, I'm in McMinnville, Oregon. 503-472-6550.